I was around Ashton Kutcher and Diddy before, and they were speaking about Brittany Murphy. And I don't think I ever told this story, and I'm about to tell the story here.
I'm a happy type person. I smile a lot.
Brittany, please come back.
She's a Scorpio. What else do you need to know?
I'm a double Scorpio.
Double Scorpio.
Evidently collapsed in the bathroom.
I don't know why things work out the way they...
Ashton Kutcher just shook the whole scene after realizing he could end up behind bars right next to Diddy. After keeping his mouth shut for years, he's now allegedly ready to spill some dark secrets, starting with what really went down in Brittany Murphy's sudden and suspicious death. And trust. It's not looking good for Diddy. Brittany was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center after collapsing, and that hospital has a wild rep. It's the same place tied to Biggie, Pop Smoke, and a bunch of other celebs whose deaths still don't add up. Just like Brittany, all their cases seem to link back to Diddy one way or another. Either they were mysteriously pronounced dead there, or the autopsy reports were handled so sloppy that no one could build a solid case. What's really going on behind those hospital walls? Now, with the feds circling and Brittany's case back in the spotlight over a decade later, word is Ashton's getting nervous. And he's about to talk. He's reportedly ready to come clean and tell it all if that's what it takes to dodge a prison sentence. At first, this might sound like a wild theory, but once you see the connections between Ashton, Diddy, and Brittany, it'll change how you see all of them. There's way more to this than meets the eye. So let's dive in, because this rabbit hole goes deep. Before we dig into Diddy's shady connection to Brittany Murphy's death, we need to talk about his strange and unexpected bond with Ashton Kutcher. With Diddy's legal drama going full speed, people are digging through his past like crime scene experts, trying to catch every red flag they missed the first time. And guess whose name keeps popping up? Ashton Kutcher! Shocking, right? Most folks wouldn't even think Ashton and Diddy ever crossed paths, let alone were close. But the truth? These two go way back. Way back. According to OK Magazine, their friendship started in the early 2000s and took off fast. Ashton even talked about it on Hot Ones in 2019, calling their bond bizarre. That's not something you hear every day. The whole thing kicked off when Diddy told Ashton, "Yo, you can't punk me." And Ashton hit back with, "I don't know what to tell you. Everybody's on the table." That little exchange set the tone, and next thing you know, they're tight. But now that Diddy's under a federal microscope, people are starting to side-eye Ashton too, because for years, both of their names have been quietly connected to the mysterious and heartbreaking death of Brittany Murphy. And suddenly, all those whispers, they're turning into full-on shouts. Brittany passed in 2009 under circumstances that still don't sit right with a lot of people. But what's even more disturbing than how she died is who she might have been afraid of. The stuff she reportedly said before she passed could be more than just rumors. It might have been her final warning. At the time, people around Brittany thought she was just spiraling, but now it's looking like her so-called paranoia was really survival mode kicking in. Her close friends and family said she became completely withdrawn, scared out of her mind, and totally convinced someone was out to get her. She even told folks she thought she was being poisoned. Back then, everyone brushed it off as stress or mental health struggles. But looking back now, it feels way more sinister. And the way her autopsy was handled, straight up shady. From the start, the whole thing was filled with red flags.
32-year-old who gained fame in movies like Clueless, Girl Interrupted, and 8 Mile.
With questions still surrounding her Hollywood home and the suspicious spouse who died in an eerily similar...
The coroner refused to dig deep into the real cause of death. They just threw pneumonia and anemia on the report like it was nothing. But experts who've taken another look say the toxicology report never made sense. That's when the talk of a possible cover-up started bubbling, like, are we looking at powerful people messing with the truth on purpose? Folks are saying there may have been tampering from people with serious pull. The kind who could make evidence disappear like it never existed. Now that Diddy's trial is peeling back layers on just how much power he really had in Hollywood, Ashton's name is starting to get dragged into the shadows too. And it's looking real suspicious. This is where things take a seriously dark turn. Ashton Kutcher, Hollywood's so-called golden boy and the self-declared anti-trafficking activist, was also one of the last people connected to another suspicious celebrity death. Ashley Ellerin. Yeah, he was reportedly one of the last people to see her alive. And even though he was cleared of any wrongdoing, it's hard not to side-eye that whole situation now. Ashton built up this image of being the heroic guy fighting human trafficking, front and center like some kind of crusader. But the twist? He was hanging out in Diddy's inner circle during the very same time Diddy's being accused of serious, dark crimes. It's raising major questions like, was that whole activist image just a polished PR stunt to distract from what was really going on behind closed doors? People are now calling that campaign nothing but a smokescreen, just a shiny distraction to keep eyes off his name while things got messy behind the scenes. And here's where things really start clicking into place. Because there are others who allegedly knew what Diddy was doing behind the curtains. Folks who were aware of his grip on the industry, especially when it comes to control, trafficking, and silence. And guess what? Some of them ended up like Brittany Murphy, sick out of nowhere, gone under natural causes, gone before they could ever go public. And we'll be getting into those cases too. Stories like this get labeled as conspiracy theories until they start repeating, until more than one person dies under the same weird conditions, until the same names keep getting mentioned behind sealed doors. At some point, it's not just coincidence anymore. And believe it or not, we're still just getting started. Stick around, because once we dive into the other celebs who may have been silenced, the truth starts screaming. Let's talk about this dark influence, because some folks think Ashton was yelling about trafficking just to keep the heat off himself. And it's about to get intense. So why is Brittany Murphy's name suddenly back in headlines after nearly 16 years? Who really gained from her death? And how could Ashton end up sinking right along with Diddy? Let's break this down. A lot of people today might not even remember Brittany like that. So here's a quick refresher. Back in the early 2000s, Brittany Murphy was that girl. She was killing it in Clueless, 8 Mile, and Just Married. That last one, that's where she met Ashton Kutcher, and they were real tight during filming. She was rising fast, becoming a real Hollywood favorite. But then, out of nowhere in 2009, Brittany died at just 32 years old. The official story said it was pneumonia, anemia, and some prescription meds. But even back then, people were like, what? That didn't add up. It all felt way too sudden, way too off.
He died of 3 causes: pneumonia, anemia, and a toxic mix of prescription.
And then came the plot twist that shook everyone. Just 5 months later, her husband Simon Monjack also died in the exact same house. From the exact same causes, pneumonia and anemia. Seriously, what are the chances of that? 2 adults, same symptoms, same place, just months apart? That wasn't just weird, it was downright chilling. At first, the internet ran wild with theories. One big rumor was that toxic mold in the house was the killer. It even got traction for a bit, but when investigators came in to test the place, nothing. No mold, no toxins, nothing deadly. Still, people weren't letting it go, especially not Brittany's dad. He came forward and straight up called the official story bogus. He wasn't buying a word of it, and honestly, neither were a lot of other people. Brittany's dad was not playing around. He went so far as to hire a private investigator, and that's when everything started getting real dark. Reports leaked that tests found signs of heavy metal poisoning in Brittany's body, especially in her hair. And this wasn't some quick-hit toxin. It was the kind of slow poison that breaks you down little by little. That's when people realized this might not have been natural at all. And get this, fast forward to 2018, and Diddy's ex, Kim Porter, also died under seriously suspicious circumstances. And guess what the official cause of death was? Pneumonia. Sound familiar? That's the same thing that supposedly took out Brittany and her husband Simon. And just like Brittany, whispers started swirling that Kim had been terrified before she passed. Some even said she felt like she was being watched, and maybe even poisoned.
Actually, during a freak-off where Diddy had seen an email on her phone. He lunged at me with a wine opener. I ran to Scott's house and used a burner phone. Later, Diddy not only threatened to have her freak-off tapes released, but that he would harm not only her, but also Kid Cudi, which I'm sure you know he's very capable of doing so. Cassie said he told her that he wouldn't be harming her and Kid Cudi with his own hands, and it would happen when he was out of the country.
That's exactly what Brittany had been telling her inner circle in her final days. So now the big question, how does Diddy fit into all of this? Well, his name has been tied to conspiracy theories for years, from the deaths of Biggie and Tupac to newer stories about him allegedly using threats and intimidation to control the people around him. This isn't new territory.
It's just utterly ridiculous.
The question is, how did somebody get to this?
Diddy being accused of trying to shut people up has been an open secret in Hollywood for a long time. And remember Cassie Ventura's court testimony? She dropped a bomb when she said that after she tried to leave Diddy and ran to Kid Cudi for help, Diddy allegedly lost it. She claimed he threatened to take Cudi out and blow up his car. Said he'd do it while Cudi was out of the country. That's not just petty, that's straight up terrifying. What made the whole situation even scarier was how calculated Diddy allegedly was when plotting on Kid Cudi. The way Cassie described it, it didn't sound like a random threat. It sounded like someone who had done this before and knew how to make people disappear without leaving a trace. That's why his name keeps getting linked to Hollywood's darkest and most unexplained moments. Now let's swing it back to Brittany Murphy. A lot of folks forget that Ashton and Brittany had a thing. It lasted around 5 months. But even after they split, Ashton didn't exactly vanish from her world. His name kept popping up in the background. Quiet, but always there. And here's where things start looking real shady. Ashton dated Brittany, then suddenly moved on to Demi Moore. A relationship that many called a major Hollywood status move. But behind closed doors, rumors were swirling that Ashton and Brittany never really stopped seeing each other. Word is, they were still linking up in secret.
He was still married to Demi Moore at the time. So you could have something, you could be right. Because it's crazy how they said her and Kim and some other individual with them around them all died of pneumonia and they were imperfect.
Now add this to the mix. Ashton and Demi were both allegedly deep inside those elite secretive circles. You know, the ones connected to Diddy's infamous freak-off parties. Yeah, those ones. So the question is, was Brittany getting a little too close to the truth? Was she starting to uncover secrets she was never supposed to know? Because if she was peeking behind that curtain, then suddenly her paranoia, her fear, and even her tragic ending don't look so random anymore. It starts to feel like she stumbled into something way bigger and way more dangerous.
32-year-old who gained fame in movies like Clueless, Girl Interrupted, and 8 Mile.
When Brittany died, Ashton didn't even bother to say a single word. No tribute, no post, no goodbye, just silence. And for a lot of people, that silence felt loud. It didn't sit right then, and it definitely doesn't sit right now. Especially now that fans are finally seeing the cracks in the glossy image. Brittany wasn't just that bubbly, fun actress on screen. Behind the scenes, she was hurting. Bad. She was stuck in what people now call a toxic relationship, allegedly manipulated, isolated, and financially drained by her husband, Simon Monjack. She felt trapped, like a prisoner in her own home. Friends say she was scared, anxious, constantly looking over her shoulder. She told people close to her that something didn't feel right, that she thought someone might actually be trying to hurt her. Then, on a cold December morning in 2009, Brittany collapsed on the bathroom floor. Just like that, she was gone, only 32 years old. So yeah, things are heating up again, and it's not just old drama being dragged back up. Multiple insiders are saying there's fresh interest in Brittany's case. And not necessarily because there's new evidence, but because the patterns are just too hard to ignore. The timing, the silence, the way her story mirrors others who were also allegedly close to dangerous truths. If federal investigators are really circling back to Brittany's death after all these years, you already know something serious must have set that off. People are finally connecting the dots, and what's coming together is nothing short of chilling. This isn't just happening for drama's sake. Diddy's legal team is reportedly getting slammed with surprise moves from every angle since this trial began. And they're shaking because no one knows what the prosecution's going to pull out next. If the Brittany Murphy connection ends up on that evidence list, that could be the final nail in the coffin. The similarities between these deaths are too wild to ignore. Way too many pieces lining up. And while the feds are keeping things real quiet, people who've been following this for years already see the bigger picture. The idea that these cases might be connected isn't some new wild theory. It's been whispered for a long time. The real twist? Now it looks like someone with real power might finally be asking the same questions the public has been screaming for years. Two young women, both living under the harsh glow of Hollywood, both allegedly terrified, both gone in eerily similar ways. And whose name keeps lurking in the shadows of both stories? Diddy's. Even if there isn't a perfect trail of hard evidence yet, this story isn't dying out. In fact, it's blowing up even more. And the deeper you go, the messier it gets. Let's rewind to the exact day Brittany passed away. Her mom, Sharon, was actually living in the house with her and Simon at the time. She's the one who made the 911 call after Brittany collapsed on the bathroom floor. Paramedics rushed in and tried to save her. But by 10 a.m., Brittany Murphy was gone. Just like that, gone forever. And the questions haven't stopped since. The official story, pneumonia, anemia, and a mix of medications. It sounded strange back then. And now, it sounds downright suspicious. And here's where it gets really weird. The second Brittany died, her husband Simon Manjak tried to block the autopsy. Like, seriously, if your 32-year-old wife dies out of nowhere, wouldn't you be desperate for answers? But Simon? Nope. He wanted to shut it down. Instead of pushing for the truth, Simon claimed Brittany was only taking herbal remedies and cough medicine. That's it.
Took her away. He made sure no one could get to her.
And surprisingly, Brittany's mom, Sharon, backed him up at first. She swore Brittany didn't touch drugs or alcohol, but later on, Sharon dropped a bomb. She admitted Brittany had been terrified in her final days. She believed someone was after her. She knew something wasn't right. She told people someone wanted her gone.
How can these two people be around the same people but die of the same death? Is it a case of the stories that are going to expose them off, they become...
And this wasn't just random panic. Brittany got so scared, she stopped eating anything unless it came directly from either Simon or her mom. She even went full lockdown, installing fingerprint scanners, cameras, top-level security throughout the house. That kind of fear doesn't come out of nowhere. She felt the walls closing in. Then, 5 months later, Simon also drops dead. Same house, same strange symptoms. Again, pneumonia and anemia. That's when people started pointing fingers at toxic mold. At first, it almost made sense, until you realize Simon and Sharon were the ones who brought up the mold theory and then blocked the testing. Like, why even mention mold if you're just going to shut down any real investigation? Eventually, top forensic pathologist Dr. Richard Shepard stepped in and crushed the mold theory completely. He said there were 0 signs of mold. No spores in the house, no traces in their bodies. Not in Brittany, not in Simon. So if it wasn't mold, what was it? So what really happened to Brittany Murphy? Why were her closest friends saying she wasn't acting like herself before she died? Word on the street is she stumbled onto something she was never supposed to see. Something deep, secretive, and dangerous. And once she knew too much, she started feeling like she was being watched, like the Hollywood elite had eyes on her. And worse, she believed she was being poisoned. But then there's Simon Manjak. And his whole presence was shady from day one. Brittany's friends couldn't even understand how he ended up with her. His past was straight up messy. Lawsuits, unpaid debts, weird business deals. And here's the real kicker. Simon allegedly started seeing Brittany when she was just 17. That alone had people raising eyebrows. After they got married, things took a dark turn. Simon didn't just play husband, he stepped in as her manager too, fired her entire team, took over her finances. Reports say he even controlled her phone and email. It got so bad that Brittany couldn't move without him. She was reportedly locked in the house, isolated from the outside world, unless Simon was right there with her. Friends now believe Simon had a much bigger role in everything that went down than he ever admitted. Because why else would he try to stop an autopsy when she died? Why would he block answers unless there was something to hide?
From her dying.
There were more unanswered questions after the autopsy came out than there were answered questions.
And then 5 months later, he dies in the exact same house from the exact same thing, pneumonia and anemia again. Come on. That's not just bad luck. That's a red flag waving loud and clear. Same house, same mysterious illness. That's either the creepiest coincidence in Hollywood history, or there was something way darker happening inside those walls. One theory that's been floating around? Simon might have been told to do something to Brittany, like maybe someone pressured him to spike her coffee with a chemical he didn't even understand. Maybe he thought it was harmless, just something to calm her nerves or lift her mood. But then Brittany collapsed and died, and everything spiraled from there. So when Simon tried to block the autopsy, it wasn't just some random decision. Some folks believe it was his way of covering his tracks before anyone started connecting dots. But then, just a few months later, he's gone too. Same house, same bizarre cause of death. That's when people started whispering that maybe Simon didn't just pass away. Maybe he got taken out, cleanup style. Like someone up top was trying to tie up loose ends, erase the evidence, silence anyone who knew too much. And once the toxic mold theory got debunked, everything spiraled into full-blown chaos. Even people who originally believed Brittany's death was just sudden and tragic started rethinking the whole thing. The timing, the silence, the sketchy behavior, it all started looking way too calculated. And now with everything resurfacing, folks are revisiting every piece, every headline, every odd moment, and realizing this wasn't just a freak accident. It might have been something far more sinister. Once more puzzle pieces started falling into place, things got even creepier. Let's zoom in on that autopsy for a second. Like we already mentioned, Brittany's dad was not buying the official story, so he took it into his own hands. He had her hair tested by a private lab. And what they found, it wasn't just light exposure. It was massive levels of heavy metals. We're talking antimony, barium, the kind of toxic chemicals you'd find in pesticides, rat poison, and even warfare-grade substances. That's not some everyday exposure from hairspray or bad water. That's screaming, slow, calculated poisoning. And when the original coroner was asked why none of this showed up in their results, their response was basically, well, we don't test for that unless there's clear reason to suspect foul play. But seriously, if Brittany literally told people she thought she was being poisoned, how is that not reason enough? And it doesn't stop there. Just weeks after Brittany's death, Corey Haim also passed. Same sketchy symptoms, same pneumonia excuse, same coroner too. Then Kim Porter, gone under similar flu-like symptoms not long after. And let's not forget Simon, Brittany's husband, who died months after her. Same cause, same suspicious setup. That's 4 people, back to back, all with strangely similar deaths and this eerie pattern of fear and paranoia trailing behind them, and all somehow tied, directly or indirectly, to the same small circle of influence. Now here comes one more bombshell. And this one makes everything feel too twisted. Like real talk. It's straight up uncomfortable. Even after both Brittany and Simon were gone, Sharon kept backing Simon's version of events. Hard. But the moment Simon passed, she didn't waste a second. She sold the house and suddenly dropped the whole toxic mold story she had been pushing. Just like that. No more questions, no more fight. So now people are asking, why switch up so fast? If she truly believed something shady went down, why stop looking for answers? Unless she already knew exactly what was up. And here's where it gets even messier. Whispers started flying that Sharon and Simon had gotten way too close after Brittany died. And we're not just talking grief support. Some insiders claimed the energy between them felt off, almost romantic. emotionally tangled in a way that had people real uncomfortable. If any of that is even halfway true, then yeah, this whole situation is way darker than anyone imagined. The vibes in that house were already weird, but this takes it into full-on scandal territory. Now here's the kicker. Diddy's name got thrown into the chaos because Brittany had allegedly started poking around where she shouldn't have. Word is, she started asking questions about Diddy's underground freak-off parties, the same ones Ashton reportedly knew about and may have mentioned to her. And by now, we all know those parties weren't just about wild fun. Nah. The rumors say they were packed with shady dealings, blackmail traps, trafficking allegations, and high-level secrets that nobody was supposed to even breathe about. Brittany might have seen too much and started asking the wrong questions. Maybe she wanted out, maybe she tried to speak up. But in Hollywood, speaking up is all it takes to make someone disappear. Two people, same house, same bizarre symptoms, same chilling silence. And with every new detail, this feels less like a sad accident and more like a straight-up cover-up. There's just way too much that doesn't sit right. The heavy metal poisoning, the elite ties, the people who should have been shouting for justice, staying dead silent. Even her own mom went quiet when things got real. It's giving setup. And the deeper you dig, the more twisted it gets. So yeah, should Brittany's case be reopened? No doubt about it. She wasn't just another starlet. Brittany was a young woman, terrified, clearly reaching out for help, and instead of protection, she got silence. If people like Diddy, Ashton, or anyone from those secret Hollywood circles had even a whisper of involvement, then it's way past time to stop brushing this under the rug. Stop hiding it behind red carpets. We need answers. We need truth. Now it's your turn to sound off. Do you think there's more to Brittany Murphy's death than what we were told? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more breakdowns like this. And don't forget to turn on the notifications so you never miss a drop. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.